and they only found out about the riot. They could look and see smoke. They could smell it. They knew that something had happened. Then they found out that there was a riot. My father knew it here, the people in Apopka. If you think people can't get together, they can get together. The blacks and whites. Every black person, every white person in Apopka I know had 2 or 3 guns because they were hunters. The blacks and the whites got together and made a march up, they tell me, as far as a curve down from Xander's funeral home. They stood at different sections so the people from Ocoee would not come into Apopka. They were guarding Apopka. And some of the people, black and white, they stayed together all night. My father would say to my aunt, if anything should happen, take the children and go. We had a field bag and put them in between the cane rows. But we didn't have to do that. But we could smell. Somebody said, well, how could you smell the smoke? I said, I can smell the smoke coming from Africa. So it was something that you could smell the smoke. You knew something was going on. They had to tell the children who were involved because we were involved. We knew something was happening. Thank God for my parents because they opened up. They would say things to us. People, the blacks, I guess, and the whites moved on out of Apopka. And somebody say, how did they go? They walked, they went by buggy, horse, however they could get to friends who lived out from Apopka. So, and then they stayed, they were afraid to come back home. But after it was all over, after a while, sometimes during the day, they'd let people go through, and you know who was just about the first man to go through Ocoee and go to Winter Garden was my dad. And that's when my mother came back home, and I think she was back home with us 2 or 3 days before the school opened in Winter Garden again. During the play, they said that July Perry's house was burned. I'm sure it was. They said the churches, 2 churches, and the school. The school was not burned at that particular time because as a girl growing up 10 or 11 years old, the school was still left in the heart of Ocoee. The churches were burned, houses were burned. And we knew we would go as children. We had, when my mother and father would go into Ocoee, our headquarters was July Perry's house. They didn't say anything about his little dog. His little dog betrayed him. He would not have done it if he had known any better. When July Perry was shot, he went down in the cane patch, and Jip was the little dog's name. He went down and barked, and that's when the mob found him in the cane patch. They say that they carried him. There's so many different stories. They shot him there, but they supposed to have carried him, I thought, to the police station in Ocoee. But you know, as I can remember, there wasn't a police station in Ocoee. They didn't need a police station in Ocoee because there was Orlando.